If COVID-19 is prolonged and supply chain disruptions get accentuated, now these are risk factors which I am listing out. It all depends how we respond to the situation. I'm just listing out the risk factors. Only time will tell how effectively we have acted as a nation and how effectively we have been able to contain the spread of coronavirus and how effectively we have been able to restrict its adverse impact on our growth. So if COVID-19 is prolonged and the supply chain disruptions get accentuated, the global slowdown could deepen with adverse implications for India. The slump in international crude prices could, however, provide some relief in the form of terms of trade gains. Downside risks to growth arise from the spread of COVID-19 and prolonged lockdowns. Upside growth impulses are expected to emanate from monetary, fiscal and other policy measures and the early containment of COVID-19. As regards inflation, the prints of January and February 2020 indicate that actual outcomes for the quarter are running 30 basis points above our earlier projections, reflecting the onion price shock. Looking ahead, food prices may soften even further under the beneficial effects of the record food grain and horticulture production, at least till the onset of the usual summer uptick. Furthermore, the collapse in the crude prices could work towards easing both fuel and core inflation pressures, depending on the level of pass-through to the retail prices. As a consequence of COVID-19, aggregate demand may weaken and ease core inflation further. Heightened volatility in financial markets could also have a bearing on inflation. Given this heightened volatility, unprecedented uncertainty, and extremely fluid state of affairs, projections of growth and inflation would be heavily contingent on, as I earlier said, the intensity, spread, and duration of COVID-19. Precisely for these reasons, the MPC decided to refrain from giving out specific growth and inflation numbers because the situation is fast changing and the outlook is extremely uncertain. In fact, this kind of uncertain outlook has never been seen before. And as I mentioned earlier, I would again like to repeat that if we, all of us, every citizen, every person who lives in this country, if we follow the rules, if we follow the advices given by the government and other authorities, then as a country we should be able to win this war against COVID-19, in which case much of the worries that we have in our growth outlook would get considerably reduced. The MPC noted that macroeconomic risks, both on the demand and supply side, brought on by the pandemic could be severe. The need of the hour is to do whatever is necessary to shield the domestic economy from the pandemic. The Government of India has yesterday announced a number of measures which are expected to provide relief to various disadvantaged sections of the society. The MPC further noted that the Reserve Bank has taken several measures to inject substantial liquidity in the system. Nonetheless, the priority is to undertake strong and purposeful action in order to minimize the adverse macroeconomic impact of the pandemic. It also underscored the need for all stakeholders to fight against the pandemic. Banks and other financial institutions should do all that they can to keep the credit flowing to the economic agents which are facing financial stress on account of the isolation that the virus has imposed. Market participants should work with regulators like the Reserve Bank and the SEBI to ensure the orderly functioning of markets in their role of price discovery and financial intermediation. Strong fiscal measures are, of course, critical to deal with the situation. To summarize, COVID-19 stalks the global economy and the outlook is highly uncertain and, of course, negative. Several nations are battling its exponential contagion. Countries are shutting down to prevent being sucked into a kind of black hole. Authorities all over the world are mobilizing on a massive scale to fight an invisible assassin. India has locked down economic activity and financial markets are under severe stress. Finance is the lifeline of the economy. Keeping it flowing is the paramount objective of the Reserve Bank of India at this point of time.